Because like a top 20 exception handling interview question which I was facing 49 in 49 interviews. So let's discuss. Like first thing is like what is exception handling in Java. The thing is like it is a basic question for every fresher. They will ask you. So how you need to answer. Like exception is a unwanted or unexpected event which occurred during the execution of a program at runtime that disturbs the normal flow of the program execution. What it means, uh, like if you want to understand the exception handling in real way, we have Wi-Fi. So suppose consider like Wi-Fi got disconnected. So that is nothing but an exception. So like why we are using exception handling? There must be a reason to use exception handling. So Java exception handling provides a mechanism to handle the compile and runtime errors. First thing. Second thing is like to make application robust. To make application robust exception must be handled. Sorry, here the thing is wrong. To make application robust must be handled properly. Whatever the exceptions are there, we need to handle properly. Another thing is like by handling exception, we can end up giving some meaningful messages to the end user rather than giving meaningless messages in Java. So through exception handling, we can make a exception our application robust and performance wise it will be work fastly. So that is the reason we are using exception handling in Java. So we have one example like for a fresher, you need to write this code. For interview will ask you like try block is there. We have in one variable that will produce the exception, arithmetic exception here, and we are printing the message like meaningful message, arithmetic exception, you don't get message. So these are basic example, but in real time projects we will use exception handling. How we are using. So we have 5000 candidates. I need to select 20 candidates. So you need to be impress the interview like this way. So you need to give some example of real time projects how we are using, so that he can select you. You need to show like you are different from other candidate. So first thing is like we have three services. Consider not three services. Like we have Swiggy application, and that Swiggy application is connected to with database. Consider what happens like due to some issues database down or database in under maintenance. So what will happen? We will get error and service won't run. So at that scenario, we need to provide a meaningful message to the client. I am booking some food, like I want to order biryani. So what I am doing? I am using Swiggy application. I am trying to book. So at that time, I need to provide some meaningful message to the clients. I am a client, so I need to provide. We need to provide message to the clients. So like we can in real time projects we will provide like this logged out error we will use, database is down, try after some time, we will put the meaningful messages. That is the first use of exception handling. Second use is like three services are there that is connecting like A B C. So C is down. So during the time C is down, we need to provide meaningful message to the B service. Like C service is down, try after some time. Another example of exception handling is like we have three services ABC, and from C we need to get the name like account name, something account name, sorry, account holder name, something we need to get. But C is down, so we are getting null in the response. So at that time we need to print the null pointer exception. So that scenario we need to handle. Another fourth scenario where we are using exception handling is like in mobile phone. If you see, we have password. If we enter password 5 times wrong, then 6 time it will show the message like try after 30 seconds. So that is nothing but exception handling. So you need to analyze where we are using exception in real world. Second thing is like exception handling in Java. So in this also, like what we can say, it is simple. Like for a fresher guy, definitely they will ask you, or even experience. Hierarchy is nothing but object is like a superclass in Java. This is superclass in Java. So in written test, definitely they will ask you throwable. Throwable is a superclass of java.lang.exception and error. If you see throwable, error and exception, and this error is further divided into three things: threaded, virtual machine error, IO error. In this, threaded is important as point of interview point of view, and virtual machine error is divided into out of memory error and stack overflow error. Stack overflow and memory error, definitely they will ask you what is this. And IO error, this one is there. And exception is divided into two part: runtime exception, check exception, uncheck exception. Runtime exception, here it is divided into null pointer exception, arithmetic exception. Here exception is divided into IO, SQL, and broken barrier exception. So for this one, like you need to know the meaning of this one, where we are, why this error will occur, why this exception will occur, they will ask you in the interview. And third question is like, what is the difference between check and uncheck exception? In every interview for exception handling for fresher level and experience level, they will ask you this question. So how we can answer, in this way to impress the interviewer? Like simple way is there. The exception which are occur at compile time, that is known as check exception. The exception which are occur at runtime, that is known as uncheck exception. So check exception are those which we need to take care at compile time, while compile time we need to take care of this exception. And for this uncheck exception are those which need to take care at runtime. For this one, like we cannot proceed until we fix this compilation. Like we are facing comma issue or some issues, compilation issues, definitely we need to fix. Without fixing problem, we can't proceed. Another thing is this one, when runtime occurs, exception of program is interrupted. By handling this kind of exception, we can avoid such interruption, and by giving some meaningful messages. Like we are facing with unchecked exception, we can give one meaningful message. Like I have shown you, like we are giving some meaningful messages. So how I can create the custom or own exception? See, for this one, like we have used user exception, and that is by using extends exception, we can create the check exception. But in a case of uncheck exception, we need to extend runtime exception. To java.lang.exception we need to use, and here java.lang.runtime exception. Another thing is like in here check exception, for exception propagation, for propagating check exception, exception method must be throw exception by using throw keywords in a case of exception propagation. But in this case, uncheck exception, automatically it will be thrown. Another thing is like most frequent face exception which you have used. So you can tell like SQL exception, IO exception, class not found exception. These are the most frequent exception we are using in our projects. Here null pointer exception, array index out of bound exception. So these are the exception we are using in project. The fourth thing is like, what are the 5 exception handling keywords in Java? For a fresher level, they will ask you this thing. Simple way is like try. So in try block, what is try block? Try block is nothing but when we know like that error will produce some kind of exception, that code we will write in try block. Catch block is nothing but whatever try will throw, from try we will get some errors, exceptions, we will catch in that catch block. Simple. Finally block is there. Finally block is like is always execute irrespective to exception thrown or not. Whether exception is thrown or not, that it doesn't care. Finally is a keyword in Java. Finally is an option in Java, maybe use or not. But in which scenario like finally we will use? Like finally we will use like when we want to for the files are there. So at closing point of view, we will use this one. Like some files are there that we need to close, especially in final handling. Some files are there but we need to close that file. So in that time we will write that code in finally block, so that it will, every time it will execute. Some interview question there will ask you like scenario based question here, like in which scenario JVM won't execute, like finally block won't execute. When we use system.execute method, it won't execute. Another thing is when JVM crash, JVM is crashed due to some java.util errors. Another is like throw. Throw is a keyword in Java, and throw is used to throw generally used to for the creating the custom exception. Throw, and another thing is throw allow us to throw the check and uncheck exception. Throw is like a return in method definition to indicate that method can be throw an exception. Like we know from that method we can throw the exception that we use. Another way is like throws we will use when programmer doesn't want to handle the exception. So JVM will allocate the default handler. So default handler will handle this one. The fifth one is like, what is error in Java? For experienced candidate, definitely they will face this question. So error is a subclass of throwable. Like here if you see object throwable error, so it is a subclass of throwable. Another thing about error is like error indicates some serious problems that our application should not to try to catch. Means some problems are there, we can't catch this one. Another thing is errors are abnormal condition in the application. Means abnormal conditions are there, and errors and its subclasses are regarded uncheck exception. So errors are error and his subclasses. What are subclasses error have that are uncheck exception? Example of this, how we can produce. So interviewer asked me like in HSBC I have faced this question, like he asked me, can you write a code to produce the error? So here I have written one code like thread that, like I have shown you in the hierarchy, like thread that is there. In interview they will ask you, see Simple way is there how we can produce the error. I have written public static void main throw interrupt exception. I have created one thread, thread 1. So I am using public void run method in thread try block. Here thread dot current thread dot get name start thread has started or not. I am checking. What I am doing, I am calling the stop method. To calling the stop method throws the threaded error. From this we will get the threaded error, and I am catching that threaded error and printing that one. If you see, output will be thread has started and thread is dead. And finally, like this, before this I am starting the thread. So in this way I am able to produce the error. So these are the important questions. Just go through this one, you will get to know like how we can answer in the interviews perfectly.